So today's class is going to talk about concepts. Last week, we talked about the statement of the problem. Now we want to talk about concepts like vision, mission, strategies, goals, and objectives, etc. Okay, let me see if this is going to work. Okay, good. We're going to give a definition of what a strategy is, what a mission is, what goals and objectives are later on in the presentation. The only thing we want to do right now before we move to the next section is to know a mission is the means or the course of action you plan to take. Under your mission comes your strategy and your tactics. A vision, on the other hand, talks about the end product. What does it look like when you finish? And we articulate that by the goals and objectives. Okay, let's move on. Okay, read for me the first paragraph related to what is a vision.
Your vision is your dream. It's what your organization believes are the ideal conditions for your community. Let me move. I got my little view boxes in the way. For your community, that is how things would look if the issue important to you were completely, perfectly addressed. It might be a world without war or a community in which all people are treated as equals, regardless of gender or racial backgrounds.
Dr. King's vision was a world where people are not judged by the color of their skin, but the contents of their character. That was his vision. Vision is always futuristic. What does it look like when we are finished? Because had Dr. King did the problem statement would have been racism. That was the nature of the world back then. So his vision would have been a world where people are judged not by the contents, not by the color of their skin, but by the contents of their character. So far, so good? Let's move on. Okay, there are a couple things that a vision statement should consist of. Give some examples of that, of these things.
Understand and shared by members of the community, broad enough to include a diverse variety of local perspectives, inspiring and uplifting to everyone involved in the effort, and easy to communicate. For example, they are generally short enough to fit on a t-shirt. And here are some examples of vision statements that meet the above criteria.
Now, before we go to those examples, make sure that vision statement is small enough to fit on a t-shirt.
You want to hear my vision statement?
Yes, let's hear your vision statement.
To do good works.
And that's too ambiguous.
Really? Okay.
Whenever you leave somebody a question, good work, what do you mean? Good work in terms of fixing up your house, good work in terms of flipping and sports. So we'll work on that, but it needs to be more specific. But I like the gesture that you took.
Okay.
Now let's give some examples.
Caring communities, healthy children, safe streets, safe neighborhoods, every house a home, education for all, and peace on earth.
Notice how they hone in on the vision, right?
Right.
So, and they more or less focus you. It's short, but yet it focuses you on where they are. For example, a world with safe streets and safe neighborhoods, a world where everybody who wants a house has a house. For example, those are what we call vision statements. Hey, let's move forward. But I like the fact that you jump in there, right?
Hey, that's how I am.
Excellent. So let's talk about the next one, the mission statement.
Okay.
And read the first paragraph.
The next piece of the puzzle is to ground your vision in practical terms. This is where developing a mission statement, the next step in the action planning process, comes in. Or organization's mission statement describes what the group is going to do and why it's going to do that. For example, promoting care and caring at the end of the life through coalitions and advocacy.
Read the next one.
Mission statements are similar to vision statements in that they too look at the big picture. However, they're more concrete and they are definitely more action oriented than vision statements. Your vision statements should inspire people to dream. Your mission statement should inspire them to act.
Read that last sentence again.
Your vision statement should inspire people to dream. Your mission statement should inspire them to action.
Excellent. That being said, jump all the way down to the last paragraph.
Okay, outcome oriented. Mission statements explain the fundamental outcomes your organization is working to achieve. Inclusive. While mission statements do more statements about your group's key goals, it's very important that they do so very broadly. You'll probably have to scroll up a little.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Up, it went all the way down to the next.
Okay. Let me see if I can move my bar. It won't let me.
Okay, well, when you get, the last sentence, you couldn't read the last sentence?
It says a good mission statements are not limiting in the strategies.
I went, hold on 1 second, it went back.
Okay, good. Oh, see, it disappeared for a second. Let me figure out if I can move it on my end, because
Okay,
no, that's interesting. Oh well. Good mission statements are not limiting in their strategies or sectors of the community that may, and that's the last thing that I can read.
and after may become involved in the project.
Okay.
Now, when I send this to you, you're gonna be able to see it.
Okay.
Yeah, because we recording the whole thing. Okay, let's keep on.
Okay.
Now, let's look at some examples.
The following examples should help you understand what we mean by effective mission statements: promoting child health and development through a comprehensive family and community initiative, to create a thriving African-American community through development of jobs, education, housing, and cultural pride, to develop a safe and healthy neighborhood through collaborative planning, community action, and policy advocacy, promoting community health and development by connecting people, ideas, and resources. This is the mission of the community toolbox.
Now, one of your homework assignments for our next class is to rethink your vision statement based on what you learned today and to put in your mission based on what you learned today.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue. Well, now you got your mission and you got your vision. But in order for you to bring that about, we do that by what's called programs. It's the programs that are put together for you to articulate and implement your mission and vision statement. Let's start with program goals.
Okay.
Okay, read the first one.
A goal is a broad statement of what you wish to accomplish. A goal is really about the final impact or outcome that you wish to bring about. So would you say what I stated earlier would be a goal to do good works?
No, that wouldn't be, because it's too ambiguous. It's not specific.
Okay.
Because when you say good work, do work, and what? It will be to do work and helping people get a house, to do work, good work in terms of helping people to reach that full potential. You just need to put something next to that good work to define what the good work is.
Okay. Yikes. Okay.
Yeah, you want to be more specific. Other than that, it's ambiguous and it could be anything. And you definitely want to be specific. Now, let me give an example of a goal. For example, back in 2014, I was smoking. I wanted to stop smoking. Okay, so my goal was to stop smoking. That was my goal, to stop smoking. That being said, let's continue to read under what they have program goals.
Okay. Goals should specify the results from program services and be in terms that are smarter that is specific, measurable, acceptable to those working to achieve the goals, realistic, timely, extending the capabilities of those working to achieve the goals and rewarding for them as well.
Now, let's say, for example, go back to the goal again. Let's say, for example, the problem that you was articulating was that people were not able to afford housing.
Right.
Well, your goal would be to create affordable housing for residents. That would be
Okay,
an example. That makes sense?
it does.
Okay, let's go now and look at some specific goals.
Okay. So here, the example, the program goal was to support at least 600 dropouts from Minneapolis high schools to obtain diplomas or equivalent levels of certification.
Notice how they give you the number of people,
Mhm,
they give you where,
mhm.
and they give you how.
Okay, to obtain diplomas, okay.
Yeah, continue.
A goal is a broad statement of what you wish to accomplish. Goals are broad, general, intangible, and abstract. A goal is really about the final impact or outcome that you wish to bring about.
Again, when I go back to when I wanted to stop smoking, my problem was that I was smoking. My goal was to stop smoking. That was my goal, was to stop smoking. In the case of a person that loses a son to violence in in their community, their goal is to reduce street violence among young people. The problem was the fact that young people was killing each other. That makes sense?
Mhm.
Excellent. Let's continue.
Each goal will have one or more performance measures. Additionally, each goal will have one or more strategies stating how the goal will be accomplished.
When we get into the lesson called evaluation, we're going to go more in depth into program measurements and program performance, but that's probably about 2 or 3 classes down the road.
Mhm.
Here's another example of a goal.
Okay, to decrease the degree of malnutrition among young children in the southwest region of Baltimore.
Notice how they specify the location,
Mhm.
they specify what they want to do, and they specify who they want to do it for.
Okay.
Let's go again.
Program goals, a broad and future-oriented statement of the desired. Goal statements identify the specific target group and provide the what information is distinct from the how the goal will be achieved or when it will come about.
Read that goal statement identity again.
Okay, the goal statement identify the specific target group and provide the what information as distinct from the how the goal will be achieved or when it will come about.
Okay, let's move to the next one because we've given you some of the examples of goals. You know that already.
Yes, well, that will help me to remember it, so,
Yeah, but well, you're going to get everything we're doing tonight. You're going to get that.
okay.
Yeah, you're going to get this whole presentation right here. Okay,
Okay.
so we identify the mission, the vision, and the goal.
Okay.
The next part, in terms of what we're talking about, is going to deal with strategies. Strategies come from your goals. Your goals come from your mission and your vision. See how it goes from vision down to mission, down to goal, and now we at strategy. What is a strategy?
Strategies is the approaches you will take, the broad approaches you are going to take in order to achieve the goal. Strategy is a plan of action, method, process, or specific step taken to accomplish a goal in a strategic plan or an objective in a compact. They indicate how results will be achieved. Each goal and objective will have one or more strategies.
So your strategy is your plan of action on how you plan to do it. If my goal is to stop smoking, then my strategy would be to join a stop smoking workshop. Okay, to get that workshop to so I can get that training on how to stop smoking. So the strategy is always going to be your plan of action.
Okay.
Let's look at some program strategies.
Program strategies or methods to reach goals should follow directly from strategies intended to achieve each strategic goal. For example, program strategy 1.1 is to conduct high school equivalency training programs to dropouts from Minneapolis high schools. Strategy 1.2 is to provide free transportation to enrollees in the program. Strategy 1.3 is to provide subsidized childcare to enrollees in the program.
Normally, I didn't mean to say normally, but notice how they talk about the goal and then they go down to the strategy. If that strategy is to reduce the number of people that's dropping out of school, they be talking about, then they get to talk about how they're going to do it. Well, first they're going to provide GED training. The second thing they're going to do is provide free transportation. Why is that important as a strategy?
Well, if you can't get to school, you can't study for school.
Yes, it becomes part of your strategy because a lot of people might have an issue with trying to get to you on the bus. They might even be driving. They might not be driving or anything of that nature.
Mm-hmm. So you're removing any obstacles to completing the goal.
Yes, that's what the strategy is. The strategy talking about what's your plan of action to bring about the goal. Why is it important that they provide subsidized daycare for the people that's in that program?
Well, if you can't afford to pay for daycare or have someone watch your child while you're studying for school, you're still not going to get to school.
Yes. So in order to reach your goals, you have to talk about what strategy you want to use in order to do it. Okay, if we say, well, our program can consist of working with people that's dropping out of school. Okay, that's our strategy. But when you look at it and say, well, why people aren't coming to our classes? Well, first, they don't have transportation. And second, they don't have daycare. So your strategy begin to talk about your plan of action, how you plan to bring about your goal. So far, so good?
Yes, sir.
So we've gone over vision, mission, goal, and strategy. Okay, let's look at what they're talking about as they begin to. No, we did that already. This is a repeated paragraph. That's a repeated paragraph. No, read this right here for me.
Strategy is the plan of action, method, process, or specific step taken to accomplish a goal in a strategic plan or an objective in a compact. They indicate how results will be achieved. Each goal and objective will have one or more strategies.
Now notice, strategy talks about the process to which you plan to bring about your goal, or the steps that you plan to take to bring about your goal. Okay, we're talking about vision, mission, we talked about goals, and we talked about strategy. Now let's talk about objectives. Read what an objective is.
Your objectives specify the outcome of your project, the end product. They're tangible. Your objectives should be behavioral. A human action is anticipated. Performance, a specific time frame within which a behavior will occur at an expected proficiency level is expected. The process is the manner in which something occurs in an end of itself, and the product is a tangible item result.
So what we know is that there are different types of objectives. If you want to change that person's behavioral, conduct, performance, on down to product. What do they mean by a product, a tangible item result? What do you think they mean?
I would think that that is something that maybe is measurable or tangible. Like, for instance, you were saying you wanted to, your goal is to stop smoking. So if you took a smoking cessation course, the end result would be you're no longer smoking. So that would give you an opportunity to have better health.
But that will go to the behavioral aspect of it.
Okay.
When we're talking about product, let's say, for example, you produce a workbook for the class. Let's say you produce an agenda, anything like that is what we talk about tangible.
Okay.
Let me give it another example in terms of a tangible thing.
Yes,
Uh,
I was gonna ask you that.
yeah, you might be doing a workshop on how to buy a house.
Mhm.
The tangible result will be to create a book
Okay,
that they can follow. So that's what we mean by tangible. Some product that you can put in that person's hand.
okay, I got you. Something that would be a part of the program that would assist in achieving the goal.
Right, it's the
It would be a
materials that you're putting
strategy.
together for the class. That's
Okay.
how, at the end of the day, it's the materials that you're putting together for the class.
Okay, materials.
That
for
makes
the
sense?
class. It does.
Okay, let's continue. Okay, what should objectives be?
Smart.
And what do we mean by smart?
So I'm gonna write this down because I want to remember this. So SMART is specific, it's measurable, attainable and or achievable, it's relevant and time bound.
Okay, now let's look at each one of the elements of SMART. Read the first paragraph.
Wow. The specific part and objective tells us what will change for whom in concrete terms. It identifies the population or setting and specific actions that will result. In some cases, it is appropriate to indicate how the change will be implemented. For example, through training or through implementation of the chronic care model. It's coordinating, partner, support, facilitate, and enhance are not good verbs to use in objectives because they are vague and difficult to measure. So I'm learning. On the other hand, verbs such as provide, train, publish, increase, decrease, schedule, or purchase indicate clearly what will be done.
Excellent, excellent. Pacific, for example, mama, we look at that adjective and once they wanted to stop high school people from dropping out of school, they was specific. They're gonna do GED training. That's what we mean by Pacific. Specifically, what are you gonna do? Next.
Measurable, it's quantifiable and can we measure it?
There go that
Measurable.
word again. There go that word again.
Measurable implies the ability to count or otherwise quantify an activity or its results. It also means that the source of and mechanism for collecting measurement data are identified, and that collection of these data is feasible for your program or partners. A baseline measurement is required to document change. For example, the measure percentage increase or decrease. If the baseline is unknown or will be measured as the first activity step, that should be indicated in the objective as the baseline to be determined, usually using HRSA database 2005. The data source you're using and the year the baseline was obtained should always be specified in or adjacent to your objective statement. If a specific
Okay, let's hold it
measurement.
right there because you don't really need to read the rest of that. The
Okay,
only thing you need to know about measurable, meaning that you need to measure it. How many? Mama, they talked about they was going to help how many dropouts?
600.
600. That's what we mean by measurable. Even though all this nonsense right here, you have to read. At the end of the day, that's what we mean by measurable. How many?
Okay.
You know, how many people are you going to serve? In the last case of the objective for dropouts, they focus on 600. And so you can measure that. At the end of the day, when that year comes, you can say, well, you say 600, did you actually do it for 600? Needs to be measurable. Next.
Okay, another important consideration is whether change can be measured in a meaningful and interpretable way, given the accuracy of the measurement tool and method.
Okay,
For
let's
example-
hold on right there because you can read the rest of this at another point. But what's most importantly, we understand some of the things we want to talk about in future class is how to create a baseline. Do you know what a baseline is?
Yes, a baseline, and I probably will be too vague, but it's like a starting point, or it's like, how do I want to define baseline? A baseline is what's common.
Well,
Is that what
you juggling around it, right? I can say that, right? A baseline is a start point where you plan to start at. You know,
Okay.
a baseline might be we want to change an increase in 10%.
Okay.
Of the people that we deal with, but we're gonna get more specific in baseline. But remember that term baseline.
Okay, let me
We're
write
gonna
that
do a
down.
whole workshop on baseline.
So baseline is your starting point. So
Yes,
would it be
starting
correct to
point.
say, you said you want to help 600, so say maybe 400 people are graduating. And that's your baseline. So your program goal is to have 600. So you want to increase that to 200 additional people. So you'd have a measurable percentage.
You hit it on the point. You
Okay.
hit it on the nail. Let's continue. Attainable.
Attainable. Let me write that down. So attainable or achievable, can we get it done in the proposed time frame with the resources and support we have available? The objective must be feasible with the available resources, appropriately limited in scope and within the program's control and influence.
Now let's hold on right there. Attainable means it's realistic.
Okay.
For example, let's take the case of the people that say they're gonna work with 600 people that drop out of school, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might not be attainable if they say 6,000 people. So you need to be realistic. Whether or not you can achieve that. And that's based on the number of staff people that you have per person. So that's
Okay.
what we mean by attainable. Okay.
Okay.
That being the case, read the last paragraph.
For example, an intervention might be intended to increase awareness of the symptoms of stroke and the need to call 911 among patients in a statewide health clinic system. If as a result of our intervention, we measure a 5% increase in awareness among all clinic patients, but 5% of our population is a very small number, we might want to consider the cost of the intervention relative to the number of people affected. We could choose to enhance the intervention for a greater impact or not implement that intervention again. Makes sense.
Okay, excellent. Relevant.
Relevant. Okay, relevant. Will this objective have an effect on the desired goal or strategy? Relevant relates to the relationship between the objective and the overall goals of the program or purpose of the intervention.
Okay, let's go right there. Because you can read the rest of it later. What's most important means, is it relevant? Let's say, for example, in the case of me wanting to stop smoking. And part of my part of the things that I want to do to stop smoking is to train kids on how to run fast. Is that relevant?
Mm-mm.
Not at all. I want to stop smoking.
Right.
So make
How
sure
fast you run has no impact on stop smoking.
Yes, you'll be surprised at this last element that people fail. It's not relevant. That's why you always stick with your vision and your mission. Because as long as you follow that, it's always going to be relevant.
Okay.
It's only when you go sidestep and you start to go sideways, doing things that's not even related to the mission that you're trying to bring about, and definitely not the goals and objectives. Okay, let's continue.
T stands for time bound. When will this objective be accomplished? A specified and reasonable time frame should be incorporated into the objective statement. This should take into consideration the environment in which the change must be achieved, the scope of the change expected, and how it fits into the overall work plan. It could be indicated as by December 2010. The HDSP program will, or within 6 months of receiving the grant.
Now, remember the last time we looked at that particular objective, 600 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
They talk about location in, I think it's Minnesota that he was going to do it in.
Minnesota.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What didn't they talk about?
They didn't give a specific time, whether it's 6 months,
exactly,
6 years.
Exactly. They shouldn't say in 2021 or within 6 months of our program. They didn't have, it wasn't time bound.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people fail that also in that component when it comes to putting together your goals and your objective. They don't give a specific time bound, because other than that, it could be done 50 years, 60 years from now. And when people give money, they want to know, when is it going to be done? Mm-hmm. When can I begin to see the results? 6 months, 1 year. That makes sense?
It does, yes.
Let's continue. Okay. I want you to go all the way down to consider the example.
Okay. Using SMART objectives. Writing SMART objectives also helps you to think about and identify elements of the evaluation plan and measurement, namely indicators and performance measures. An indicator is what will measure to obtain observable evidence of the accomplishments, changes made, or progress achieved. Indicators describe the type of data you will need to answer your evaluation questions. A SMART objective often tells you what you will measure.
Now,
Consider,
what's important about this is that when we get into that section of evaluation, we're going to deal with what is an indicator and how do I indicate what I'm doing. And we're going to get into performance measurements and all that stuff like that when we get to the evaluation section, which is probably about three classes away.
okay.
This reads the last paragraph.
Consider the example by February 15, 2006, increased by 4 the number of community health centers in Florida that have incorporated into the clinic system electronic medical records with reminders of treatment protocols. The indicator is the number of community health centers in Florida that have incorporated electronic medical records with reminders of treatment protocols into the clinic system. A performance measure is the amount of change or progress achieved towards a specific goal or objective. SMART objectives can serve as your performance measures because they provide the specific information needed to identify expected results.
Okay, that's good. Let's go to the next section.
An objective is an integral part.
Okay, yeah, just jump all the way down to the last sentence.
Okay, objectives and goals are also what's, not how's. They are smaller than a mission.
So goals, when you look at goals and objectives, they talk about the what as opposed to the how. The mission statement talks about the how, but we're gonna get in depth in that also in our future classes. This give an example on how to, and I want you, when I say you this, I want you to put together a goal and then to use this right here, whatever that goal is that you want to achieve as your outline.
Okay, now you're gonna send that via email, or I'm just gonna strictly have it on this recording?
Oh, I'm gonna send it by way of email, like I did the last time. It's gonna be YouTube, because
Okay.
what I do is that once I record it, then I put it on YouTube so I can send the link, and it's shareable.
Okay,
That way, for example, when you click that link, this video exactly as we're talking is going to come up. Everything is being recorded.
let me take a snapshot. Can you go back?
Okay.
So that way I can have it and I don't necessarily have to go through the entire video. Okay, I got it.
Okay. Good. Smart. Okay. Let me see what read number second paragraph.
Okay, the two general types of objectives are process and outcome. Process objectives focus on the activities to be completed in a specific time period.
Next.
They enable accountability by setting specific activities to be completed by specific dates. Process objectives explain what you are doing and when you will do it. They describe participants, interactions, and activities.
Read all the way down to the last paragraph.
Okay, by June 30th, 2006, provide training for 20 community health center administrators in the use of electronic medical records. Outcome objectives express the intended results or accomplishments of the program or intervention activities. They most often focus on changes in policy, a system, the environment, knowledge, attitudes, or behavior.
When we get to the evaluation section, we're going to be talking about outcome objectives versus process objectives. Okay, this just talks about objectives can be anywhere from short-term and immediate objectives to long-term objectives. Normally, this happens if you're doing a program over a period of time. If you're doing a program that's going to be 3 months long, you don't have to do short-term, immediate, or long-term. That makes sense?
It does, yeah.
If it takes you a year to do, then yeah, you want to put that down like that. But not every program you do is necessarily going to take a year. You might be doing a workshop on how to buy a house. And the workshop might be, for example, 3 weeks long. So you won't necessarily need short-term and needed and long-term objectives. Okay, let's continue. Okay. All right, that's repeating that. So let me go. No, let's read the first paragraph.
Okay,
I'm
objectives.
sorry, the first sentence.
The first sentence, objectives are meant to be realistic targets for the program or project.
And read the second one.
They are written in the active voice and use action verbs such as plan, write, conduct, produce, rather than more vague terms like learn, understand, or feel. Well-written objectives will always answer the following questions. The who is going to do it. The who is going to do what, when, and to what extent.
Read that again.
Who is going to do the what, when, and to what extent.
As long as you got all these elements in your objective, you're going to be on point. Read that again.
Who is going to do the what, the when, and to what extent.
Exactly. Who's
That's
doing
the
it?
who,
When they going to do it? And
What?
exactly what is it you're doing?
when, and what extent.
Read capacity building.
Capacity building objectives will likely focus on the achievement of products or processes, such as developing a state plan, a partnership, or a burden document that will help the state reduce heart disease and stroke.
Okay, next, intervention.
Intervention objectives should focus on processes such as training or on outcomes such as systems changes and health status change.
Excellent. Okay, let's read some examples from the goal, the strategy, the objective, and the activity.
Okay, so the program goal is to decrease risk behaviors associated with HIV infection among students within the school district. The strategy is to form a community partnership that advocates for HIV prevention, education, in schools. So the objective is to, by February 28, 2009, convene 4 meetings of a new community partnership group for HIV prevention education in schools. The activities is to,
let's go back to the objective. What's missing from that objective?
so we've got, want to know the who, the what, when. So we've got when, we've got the what, which is 4 meetings, but it doesn't say the who.
The where. Where?
Oh, the where.
New
I'm sorry,
York,
the where.
Chicago, Philly. It doesn't
Okay.
have the where.
Doesn't have the where. Okay.
Yes. Okay, continue.
Okay, so the activities is to create criteria for identifying partnership members, recruit the members, convene the meetings, and document the meetings.
Number 2.
Program strategy number 2 is to provide professional development on HIV prevention education to district health educators. The objective is by February 28, 2009 to conduct 2 one-day workshops on HIV prevention education for at least 90% of the health educators in the district, including teachers, school nurses, and school counselors. The activities is to recruit the trainers, design the workshops, market the workshops, implement the workshops, evaluate the workshops, and provide follow-up support to workshop participants.
Notice the goal.
Mhm.
The strategy, the objectives, and the activities.
Mhm.
Another word for activity is the task that you plan to take to bring about the desired objective. Okay. Now, I always ask, give me 2 things that you learned from the night's class.
Well, I learned that my mission statement is too vague, too broad, too ambiguous. So that's the first thing. I now have a better idea of what's SMART. I think if I sit down and I look at SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, that I have a better concept now. It's more
Excellent.
organized in my head. It's not like jumbled up or like you said, ambiguous. I can
Let
kind
me,
of,
hold on 1 second. Let me stop the recording.
okay.
Just stop the recording. Yes, stop.